Okay. All right. Is it working? Let's see. Let me check and see if it is working. Uh-huh. Interesting. Customize details. It's gonna have to do. Save. Excellent connection. That's good. What does they happen? Don't mind me. This is just testing to see how streaming works. This is my second time streaming, I think. Uh, Interesting. All right. All right. It actually works. That's good. Concurrent viewers. Somebody liked the. Hold on a second. Who is this? Is there another person here? Well, what do you know? Somebody's actually here. That's three people. Well, no, actually, that's two people. One of those people is me. Um, well, for the two people that are here, how's it going? Welcome to the test stream. This is test stream number one. Um, I do plan on streaming at some point in the future. Whoops, I bumped my mic. The problem is, I don't know what streamers do. I'm not a streamer by profession. I don't know if it's something I'll ever be doing often. Maybe once a week, maybe once a month. No idea. I haven't decided yet. Um, wow. Okay, so it actually. Okay, okay. Latency isn't that bad. Yeah, you don't know what they do either, huh? Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I feel that. I have Slime Rancher booted up in another tab in case of emergencies. Because I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now. It's been 4 minutes. I didn't think I'd be on this long. I don't know. Well, seeing as I'm technically streaming now, uh, I guess that means I'm a streamer. Perhaps I get to decide what we do. Certified Tetsky fan. Hey, actually, that I've seen your thumb. Hold on a second. I've seen your profile picture in the comment section. Bevan's here too. Test comment. I can see you loud and clear. Wow. Oh yes, this thing is indeed on. The problem is, what is it? This is literally just a test stream. I kind of just wanted to see how it would go. That actually reminds me, you do stream every now and again, don't you, Bevan? What do streamers do these days? I'm not super well versed. Well, while you three people are here, how's it going? How we doing? Mostly my ideal focus. Well, she. Don't mind the fact that Naruto is on screen right now. It was just one of the only things I had up as like a placeholder. Jokes relating to your audience. All right. Okay. All right. And ultimately ranting. All right. Okay. Crap. Now I gotta say something funny. This is the part. Yeah. On the spot. Hmm. Well, since you guys are here, what have you guys been watching lately? Watching, reading, whatever. So far, right now, I'm not really watching anything for enjoyment unless it's rewatching. I was rewatching Parasite the other day. It's actually pretty good. It's at the point in the algorithm where you know the YouTube shorts will spontaneously like spam like one anime or something like that over and over. Primal Hunter? Hold on a second. Since I have two screens, let's figure this out. Hold on. Primal Hunter. Okay, smooth. AI mode. What is this? What is this? What the heck is this? This is new. I haven't seen this before. 12 volumes. Oh, snap. That's kind of long. Well, that might be kind of interesting. What is this? Is a literary RPG fantasy written by Zogarth. Falls under the umbrella of progression fantasy and incorporates typical elements of the genre like levels, classes, professions, skills, dungeons, and loot. Bat. Easily one of my favorite stories ever. It has webtoon, but nah. I prefer the raw original story. Fair enough. It makes my imagination go wild beyond belief. That's a pretty spectacular thing. I'm gonna have to bookmark that. Not in AI mode, of course. I'll bookmark that, yeah. I'll have to come back to that later. If Bevan likes it, it's probably good. His taste is relatively good. At least from my experience. Could you tell me about the magic system of the Ocean Gate Titan? Alright. Let me think for a second. Ocean Gate Titan. Like Ocean Gate the series? I'm gonna level with you guys. Just because I consider... Oh, that... I thought you were talking about an actual magic system. My bad. I completely forgot about this. Oh my goodness. Power scaling the Ocean Gate controller. Okay, so back when my videos were still kind of dusty, I know my video editing and my voice control has not always been the best in my videos. Back when my editing was still dusty, I actually made a video about that. It was so stupid. Like, I found out that it went missing and I was like, that's kind of strange. It's funny. But then I heard that they found out it exploded, and I started reading all the details. And in one day, like one night, I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, this is so stupid. There's no way that I can't talk about this. I don't know what led me specifically to decide. It was that controller. That's what it was. Let me stop lying. When I found out they were using that stupid Logitech controller from 2004, I was like, there's no way I can't get online and cook these people. Man, bro. I'd be worried about the latency in an Xbox controller. Even now, I'm on PC. I don't really do Xbox anymore, but even now my controller is plugged in because I do not mess with that latency, man. Bro, I back when I played on 360, you know when like the batteries get low, the batteries would get low, right? And then they like disconnect for a second. That killed me playing. I used to play Sonic Unleashed. I hate that game, by the way. I don't know why I forced myself to play it. Yeah. But yeah, I'd be running or something during the night levels, or I'd be running during the daytime, and the controller would just stop, and I'd fly off a ledge, and that would be it. And that would happen like twice a level. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Couldn't relate. I had PS2, PS3. Now, I was fortunate enough. I was fortunate to have experienced the days of PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. I loved PlayStation 3 was great, man. I remember what all did we play, man? Mass Effect, man. What was that game called? Metal Gear Solid 4. Now, this sounds stupid, I know. It's weird for Metal Gear Solid 4 to be my first Metal Gear game ever, but it was. I played that game over so many times. Now, we love that game. Man. Me, my brother, my dad, we used to play that game over and over. Like, you get all the. It took me like 3 playthroughs to realize it was a sneaking game. Even though they tell you in the beginning, because I was like in elementary school. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't paying attention. And they give you all the guns, so it's like, why not use them? I was just running around blowing people up. Because I couldn't sneak to save my life. Yeah. Sonic Unleashed is great if you play the fan-made PC port. Man, this man is spitting because the actual game, the delay in the buttons, and this is the reason I don't like this is the reason I don't mess with latency anymore. I always plug my controllers up because the latency in that game, the sheer delay on its own. I tested other games with the Xbox controller. That game specifically, the delay was so bad. For a game that has quick time events in it, I kid you not. Like you could run down the meter by 75%. You got a quarter of the meter left. If you press that button before that point, it will not register. Wow. I love that there's consequence for killing in one of them MG games. You go down and oh yeah, you're talking about Metal Gear Solid 3. When I say that used to mess me up every playthrough. Because remember, I couldn't sneak to save my life. And they give you so many guns in the game. I was like, well, I'm just gonna shoot everybody up. I'm gonna shoot everybody up until I get to a safe place. And then you get to that last mission where I remember. I love the mission before that so much, but I hate that part with the river because it used to creep me out. Where you're trying to escape through the sewers and Ocelot comes and catches you and you jump in the water. Yeah, I like that mission a lot specifically. I guess the reason I like that mission so much is because, like I said, I sucked at sneaking. Well, the vibe was pretty good in general, like the atmosphere was very good. But also, I guess it forced me to learn how to sneak because you didn't have a lot of weapons at the time. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very different experience to me because upping the pole was kind of my go-to method. I had to really think about what I was doing. Running around with like a fork. But yeah. I couldn't do stealth games. I needed my reactions tested. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. When I was younger, my dexterity was not the best. Like I had to do something high stakes in a game, I would just like panic. I remember the games being very, very vivid to me. So what would happen was like I couldn't like take it as an actual game. I would like freak out while I was playing the game. It used to get in the way so much. I started playing that's one of the reasons I started playing turn-based games. I don't play them that much anymore. Still managed to learn how to abuse AI in stealth games, but I don't prefer it. Yeah, I agree with that. I used to do that till I was 12. Yeah, I feel that. I'm not gonna hold you. I've never been the best at games in any capacity. I remember what was it? It was either the first day or the second day that Apex Legends came out. It was probably that day or the very next day. Cause I remember me and my brother, we went to college, and it was back when we what was I about to say? Yeah, and so while he was gone, because we didn't always go at the same times in the same day, so he would go to college, and I would just play whatever games he had on his PlayStation 4. And Apex came out. I was like a day two player, right? You think I'd be good, right? You think I'd be good. I played Apex Legends for years on multiple consoles. I played PlayStation 4, and then I moved over to PC when I finally got my own PC. You think I'd be good, right? No, I was trash. I was trash. Garbage. Garbaje. El trash. Garbaggio. You conditioned yourself not. My bad. Ugh, my tongue is messing up. Then I conditioned myself to not immerse myself anymore. How do you do that? That's a skill I gotta learn. Actually, no, I'm probably relatively detached at this point. I guess the reason that I'm so detached from works of fiction now, usually, is not because I learned to detach myself, but because a lot of them have failed me to the point where it forces my perspective. It forces my perspective to be at a different at a distance, you know. Let's see. Certified Totsky fan says, I love strategy and logistics games, but they give me headaches and stress me out. I have to wind down. Yeah, I feel that. Like, I've always been, like, if you know me when it comes to writing, I've always been the type of person who leans into, like, the depth and the mechanics and the strategy and understanding the niche features and things like that. I've always loved that. But when I actually do it in a game, that shit gets tedious. It can get very tedious. You think I would love to do, like, for some reason, I just don't, I don't always draw. Ugh. It's something that I thought I would enjoy, but with a lot of games, I don't. It just gets too tedious for me. I can't do it. I'll end up playing a more simple build. Like, for example, I'm currently playing through Baldur's Gate 3, and I opened the game, and I was like, okay, knowing how D&D works. Can't play a druid. It's not that it's too complicated for me. Too many options I don't feel like figuring out, right? Don't want to play wizard. I could play sorcerer, but I'll feel bad if because in D&D and classic D and not classic in 5th edition D&D, which Baldur's Gate 3 is based off of, it's the worst version of wizard. So I wouldn't play wizard because I felt like it might be too complicated. But I wouldn't play sorcerer either because I'd feel like I was cheating myself. I thought I'd be the worst version of a wizard, so I didn't want to do it. So meanwhile, I'm over here playing Warlock, which is something I never thought I'd play ever. You see what I'm saying? Which I regretted deeply. Having 2 spell slots sucks. Have to wind down with hardcore Metroidvania. Hold on a minute. Wind down with Metroidvanias? What? Huh? Wait, well, hold on. No. Go back. What do you mean? Wind down with Metroidvanias. That sounds like a whole nother type of headache. I mean, I respect their values, right? Like I've always liked some of those games. I could never play them consistently because I learned I don't like walking around backtracking and stuff like that. I've just never liked that. I want to though. I remember back in the day, what was that game? The first Metroid game I ever played was Metroid Prime. That was when I was in kindergarten, I think. Kindergarten. It takes me way back, unfortunately. Didn't like my childhood, but that's besides the point. Ah, man. I remember we had the GameCube, right? We did not have the memory card. So what my dad would do is for some reason, he just wouldn't pay $10 for the freaking card. I don't know why, but he would restart Metroid every single day. Like we would what was it? He would restart Metroid every day. If not, he would leave it running. He would leave the GameCube running overnight so he could get back up the next day and play it. I'll never understand why he didn't just fork over the money for that card. Maybe they were more expensive back then. I don't know, but let's be honest. If you're gonna pay however much money it is for the console, you kind of have to get the. I get the fact that those cards being separate was a bit of a scam in a way, but I don't see why you do that to yourself. It's just me. It's just me personally. Let me catch up with the chat. Let me catch up with the chat. Y'all got me going. But yeah, I modded Terraria. I've never played Terraria. Old school Monster Hunter. I'll have to look into that. Like I said, well, I don't think I actually ever mentioned this to you guys, but I identify as a medium rare gamer. I respect the concept and I do enjoy games. I've just never been the biggest gamer. You know what I'm saying? I've just never been the biggest gamer. I think part of the problem was when I was younger, I didn't really get exposed to all the games I'd genuinely be interested in. Because there were ones that I played that I enjoyed, right? Like, for example, we had on PlayStation 2, we had like Mortal Kombat Armageddon. And then we had stuff like, I remember we had a bunch of the Dragon Ball games. We had Budokai 1, Budokai 2. We had Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3. Like, we kept getting them from friends. They kept giving them to us. I remember I was in 4th grade. One of my friends gave it to me as a gift for my birthday. It was Budokai 1. Love that game. That was a great game. But I'm just not good at fighting games. I don't know what to tell you. Look at me, it's streaming natural. I see it as I see it in terms of resources and resource efficacy. I can't just invent things off the top of my head all the time to talk about, but if I'm given content, I can process that and I can produce an output. If the output was to go, if the raw material that was the chat wasn't going so well, I just couldn't do it. Like, I just, you get what I'm saying. As a kid, it's easy to condition yourself because child minds are mushy. The concept of repeating mantras to yourself is all it takes as a kid. You know what? That's actually pretty believable. That's pretty believable. As an adult, nah, you gotta get results these days. Yeah, I feel you, man. I often wonder how different I'd be now if I made different choices as a kid. That sounds stupid. Because, yeah, kids do make choices, right? But it's like you don't expect them to, like, make these deep life choices about who they're going to become. I feel like if it's so stupid to... You ever see one of those memes where, like, I was so busy being in elementary school when I should have been locking in and investing in Bitcoin? That's how I feel sometimes. I'll look back and like, I should have done something else. And I'm like, Isaiah, what were you going to do? You were 4. You were 7, man. A streaming natural. I thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's a work in progress. We're getting there. For those of you who have been around my child for... Not my child, my bad. I don't have any kids. Not yet. For those of you who have been around my channel for a while, you would know I was not always able to speak this well. Even when I would speak relatively well, a lot of the time I had issues controlling my voice properly. It'd be very mushy, it'd be very inconsistent. I did in the past have 3 speech impediments. Sometimes talking was fucking hard. I kid you not. Sometimes if I didn't get enough sleep that night, it would take me several hours before I was able to like remember how to fucking talk. I'm not joking. That shit used to be difficult. Certified Totsky fan says, why am I narrating like that? Nah, I should have got the overlay. I should have got the overlay to put the text on screen so that I know you guys can see what each other is saying. I know you guys can see because you're commenting, so the comments are right there, but maybe that's like my internal OCD trying to be like trying to cover all my bases. I don't know, but anyway, what was I saying? Totsky fan says, starting my journey writing has made me have a perspective with writing where once you know how the sausage is made, it's like having a magic sense for plot lines. Law can't unsee it. I agree with that. I agree with that. In fact, a lot of times I can look at what a writer's doing, whether they're doing it well or not, and I can more or less tell exactly what their thought process was. Not exactly, obviously, because some people are weird. You don't know exactly what's going on in their head, right? But you can see their output, and generally, well, common sense dictates that whatever choice you make, is directly governed by, whatever you do, whatever actual thing you do, there was a thought process behind that. So even if it's not 100%, you can usually glean what a writer was thinking, what their plan was. And you can tell when they're like covering their ass because they fucked up or something. You can really tell. You can. You can. I'm based in roguelikes and harder games these days. I play them. I play them pretty easily. Huh. Okay, okay. I've always liked a lot of the mechanics in roguelikes. I don't like roguelikes. This sounds stupid. I know I say that about a lot of things. I'm like, well, I respect the concept, but my bad if I keep doing that. My whole thing is that, hold on a second, since my screen is still active. This is my first one. This is my first one I ever played. Well, it was Pixel Dungeon, and then I discovered Shattered, because Shattered was like the better version. You can find this on Android on the App Store. It's free. There are a bunch of different versions of it, because I think it's open source or something. I used to love this game and hate this game at the same time. This shit used to piss me off. In high school, this game used to make me so mad. Man. Obviously, it's a dungeon game. You go in the dungeon. Apparently, there's like supposed to be this MacGuffin where, like, hold on, wrong it. Where the fuck is it? Well, that's the icon right there. There's like a MacGuffin at the end where if you find it, it'll make you a god, but you got to get down there first. And the game has a lot of interesting like mechanics and everything like that. It's got a class system, and after like the second boss, you get subclasses. Usually, one of the subclasses for every class is good, and the other's trash. So be advised in that regard. But I like the game and concept. I enjoyed the adventure a great deal. A lot of unique experiences I had playing this game, but the game used to try to screw me over, like around almost every other corner. It used to make me so mad. For the longest time, I played that game over and over and over, and I couldn't get past the first set of levels. It was so tedious. This is the part where I have to remind you guys, like I said, I was never that good at games. I was never that good. I'm better now, but you know. Blasphemous 2 is so fluid to fight in. I'm not even mad I get tapped 2 taps. Hold on a sec. Well, for those of you who've known me for a little while would know, I actually am not good at spelling. If y'all know me on Discord, or if you like read the notes in my videos, the spelling isn't there. My apologies for that. I'm working on it. Like I said, that dexterity. My parents sat me down when I first started driving. He said, listen, son, your mom's worried about you. He was lying. I mean, she was worried about me, but obviously he was worried too, and he didn't want to say it like that because, I don't know, some people just have difficulty being honest with their emotions. He's like, listen, son, she's worried about you. Your dexterity, man, it's not all the way there sometimes. And I wanted to get mad, but I was like, I live with myself every day. I know what my hands are like. I couldn't. He was kind of spitting, you know. I couldn't say anything about it. Blasphemous. Let's see what we got here. Looney Razor. Did I just join in mid-session? Lamau. Looney Razor. Yeah, man. You joined me mid-suave. How's it going? Yeah, me and Looney Razor go way back. Actually, while we're on the subject. My bad. Still play a Minecraft on the George Foreman. Man, bro. You know the George Foreman died years ago. Hold on a second. Why is it so hard to find your YouTube channel? Hold on a second. No, I'm subscribed. That's right. Hold on. You're right there, dude. Hold on. Yeah, this is him. This is my guy. We went to college together. We go way back. We go way back to like 2017, man. I can say that. I almost feel old, but not yet. But yeah. But yeah, he's cool. He's cool. He's cool. He's cool. Um, y'all know how I have a lot of them crazy ass takes. You know, them takes that make people mad. Yeah, he was one of the first people that got to deal with me saying stuff like that in my adult life. I'm pretty sure he vividly remembers a lot of different occasions where and this is the reason I didn't talk all the time in college. In case you were wondering, Razor, and you know, you're probably wondering, or maybe you just knew I was like that. A lot of the times I wouldn't talk to everybody because if I, you know, if we got into an argument, they wouldn't be prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? Ah, yes, many times, Lamau, yeah. I'm not old. Phineas and Ferb isn't even that old. Yeah, you got me. Hold on, let me scroll up. I didn't mean to. I just meant to shout out Looney Razor. I didn't mean to abandon you up here. Let me scroll back up to Blasphemous 2. Love the hand me down games. I agree with that. If it wasn't for people just giving me games, I probably wouldn't have played that many. I think one of the only games I bought myself when I was a kid was Spyro. Which Spyro was that? I think it was Eternal Night. The one no one ever talks about. I don't know why. I don't know much about Spyro. I mean, I liked that game. It was sometimes some of the levels were kind of dingy. They used to make my eyes tired. I'm a type of person. This is another reason I don't play games these days. Depending on the graphics hurt my eyes. I don't like dealing with that. Yeah. There are some games like that's the reason I play Breath of the Wild so much. I have like 600 hours in Breath of the Wild. I genuinely do not believe Breath of the Wild is a good game. I believe it has a good base, like a good engine with like the world and everything. But the game feels so bare at times. Like it takes like hold on a second. It takes so many crap. I can't say that on YouTube. They're gonna beam me. What do you call it? Alternate play experiences? Yeah, it takes some alternate play experiences. It takes a lot of them put together to make that game worth playing. Yeah. If you know, you know. Nintendo, if you're watching this and you beam me, I'm gonna come to your house and slam your knee in the car door. I feel like as a kid, you can change your life by learning certain skills via specific activities. Like if you did baseball instead of gaming or whatnot, total different skill set. Yeah, it affects your mind a lot. It like the mental framework a lot. Let me tell you something I did when I was a kid, when I was younger, that really changed me a lot in a way that most people kind of weren't prepared for. I was watching one of those little like one of those TV shows with like brain games or something like that, and they were talking about all the different mental shortcuts that people make in their minds. And I started realizing all the different shortcuts that people make in their minds. And I realized a lot of them don't work. And I looked at my own life and the people I knew and saw how much trouble those shortcuts, mainly assumptions, unnecessary assumptions, were causing. And I did everything in my power every single day of my entire life from that point on, trying to be as reasonable as possible and not making unnecessary assumptions. And now the world just looks completely different to me than it does to most people, to the point where it's almost irreconcilable. I will point out arbitrary assumptions that people make, or even necessary assumptions that they made that they didn't realize that they made. So to me, the world is a lot more complicated than it is to most people. And that gets under people's skin sometimes. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. 100% agree on the roguelikes. Wait, scroll back up, Isaiah. What did you do? I want so hard to like them, but the RNG as the gameplay loop is something I don't agree with. Oh yeah, especially in Pixel Dungeon, it used to piss me off. The way the engine in the game works, it's like there's a background timer the game doesn't tell you about. And after that timer runs out, the game will just start cheesing the hell out of you. They'll just start cheesing you so you can fucking die. If you can survive that wave of bullshit RNG, then you're fine. You can survive. But the problem is you won't. Your peak at spelling Nitro type legend? Man. I tell you what it is. It might be my fingers are too short. Still playing Minecraft on the George Foreman? Nah, man, I'm not playing. You know the George Foreman died years ago. It's crazy. Man, hold on. What was that thing called? For years, I had, what was it? I'm finna tell a story about the George Foreman, y'all. I've been waiting years to spit my shit on this one. Hold on. Lenovo Yoga. Which one was it? The 2014 one? I had one of these with a touchpad. I think it was this one. Or something like it. It was something, a really old one. My first computer in college. That my dad went to get me. We got it from the pawn shop, all right? I'm not gonna insult people getting stuff from the pawn shop. I did it myself. I respect that. Herein lies the problem. We booted that bad boy up for the first time, and I could smell something burning from under the keyboard. I knew that day something was wrong, but it lasted for years. The most intensive game I could play on it was Final Fantasy X remake, like the remaster on like the second lowest settings. And even then it would go in slow motion spontaneously. That thing used to get so hot. I used to spend most of my time playing Minecraft because barely anything else would run. And sometimes it got hot playing that too. It was a hot mess. That thing survived way longer than I thought it would. I thought that thing would like get a hole burned in it or something like that. Man, that thing, whew. I remember one time I was going to take the driver's test. And it's only a couple of miles away from campus. So I was going to go back to campus and go to class or whatever afterwards. You know, like you get up one morning and there's no rain in the forecast. It's a pure, clear, like straight up blue sky. And then at random, a whole storm will just blow through and soak everything. Yeah, that happened to me on my way to campus, right? Completely drenched everything I had with me. George Foreman died. It got forget the normal blue screen. You know, like the black screen where like you're trying to boot up? I got that, but blue, the drive was toast. I had to dry the thing. It still wouldn't work. It was damaged. I can't remember exactly. By the grace of God, that thing started working. That's all I can say. I don't know, because I didn't really do anything to it. Other than that. I couldn't fix it. I just didn't know how to. But by the grace of God, it started working again. And it lasted maybe another year after that. And the pins and the charger broke. And that was it. I just couldn't charge it no more. I tried too. Someone taught me a trick where you take like some aluminum foil and you put it in between the charger so that it can stand in for the pins. She said she tried it all the time herself and it worked just fine. That's what I get for listening to a college student. It fried the motherboard and that was that. I got all my files off of it before then though, so it's fine. I wanted people to have... I played online games with honor at one point because the tryhard child me, did in fact get too good at and made people rage quit. Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. I wanted people to have fun, so I decided to tone myself down forever. That sounds so ominous. It almost sounds sad. Like, this world couldn't handle me, I had to go sit down. Honestly, skill issue to them. Now, I have been the player on the receiving end of that many times, where the person was just too good, they've been playing the game too long, and I would just keep getting cooked in the same... That's the reason I quit Titanfall 2. I used to play Titanfall 2. By the time I got to it, there were only veteran players left, and they would just, like, they were the sweatiest people, especially people who had the Kraber. There was this... Now, if you play Apex Legends, you know the Kraber's kind of powerful. Shit. Now, if you play Apex, you know the creepers kind of pout. Isaiah, what the? But if you play Titanfall 2, this thing was actually trash. It's powerful, right? But it's just hard to aim. And so the really, really good players would just swing through the city like Spider-Man and just one-tap people with it and fly away. There was this guy, I think his name was something Smiles. I think it was like Sad Smiles, some number behind it. And I would keep getting in a lobby with him. It was skill-based matchmaking, right? But there was nobody in my tier because I was too new. And so they kept pitting me up against this man. And anytime I would get in the air, he would just one-shot me. He would just one-shot me every time. And he would crouch and crawl away on one of the buildings. I would see him on the death cam crouch and crawl away every single time. I'm like, will you get off that fucking building? I said, you know what? I hate to say it. I'm rage quitting. That's it. I'm done. I ain't never playing this game again. Because the first thing I'm going to load up the game and the first thing I'm going to see is this man's profile. Because he's he's like one of 50 people that play that game. He's probably playing it to this day. That's why I'm never going back. My bad. Let me calm down. I literally need to face some of the best players in the world to unlock my limits at this point. It's ridiculous how heavily I'm brainwashed myself into being this way. That is impressive. That's a skill. It's called locking in. Not everybody's able to do that. Being broke, never had many games to play, so ended up playing MMORPG, especially Toontown. Toontown, I never got a chance to play Toontown. I remember when it was popular. When I was a kid, we did not have internet at my house. I'm not finna give y'all my anime sob story. We're gonna skip all that, all right? Just don't worry about that. I rant about a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna rant about that. We're gonna skip that. But to make a long story short, my grandmother had internet, and we would go over her house. The problem is her computer was A, slow as molasses, and B, she had dial-up. Best believe I wasn't playing anything. And y'all remember, I tell you the only thing I could actually play on it, and it would take hours. It took so long that sometimes me and my brother, we would stay over her house overnight just so we could play this fucking game. It was called Ninja Saga on Facebook. Have y'all ever played Ninja Saga? I used to love this game so much. But the game used to run so slow even on that computer with the dial-up. It is like a browser. It's like a flash game. Even this would run terribly. Like, it would sometimes, running missions would, like, take 30 minutes to an hour. We had time to sit and think about our lives and whatnot. Oh, my goodness. Play Sadness and Sorrow. That reminds me, I meant to put some background music in here. I never got around to it. I don't know how to do that. That's stupid. I know exactly how to do that. I can just play it on my computer. Hold on a second. Oh well, never mind. Oh yeah, remember that day you were hella mad about that? I remember. I showed up with that George Foreman, bro. My ass was soaked. I was tired. I ain't even want to talk that day. It was a Friday. My ass was mad. Oh man. Where the bro had to pull the Kenpachi. Last time I tried to lock in, I literally couldn't. I created such an insane mental barrier for myself. I get that. That was me with talking. I remember, so you know that 2-hour long video that I wanted to be 40 minutes that I did on, it was my last video. Hold on a second. The video I did on Star Wars. My mother was worried about me. She was worried about me because I had my own mental block. Sometimes it was hard for me to talk. And so the thing I do is, this is going to sound stupid. I like to consider myself at times to be a walking nuclear option. A walking ultimatum. And, it sometimes it's difficult to deal with. But I said, well, I don't have any super clever ass solution to get myself to be able to talk right in this microphone. So I'm just gonna keep doing this shit every day. It doesn't matter how many times I fucking stutter. I'm gonna force myself to fucking talk straight because it's my mouth and I think I should be able to control it. So I was like, nah, fuck that. I was like, nah, no, no, it's my mouth, and I'm gonna keep bashing my head into a fucking wall until this shit works. And then it worked. It started working pretty well actually, and that's how that video came out. So yeah, that's a problem I had earlier on too, where not only did I struggle with finding something that I was inspired enough to talk about in the videos, but also it would like I would have to just like you get what I had to like force myself to get it out at times. There were times like, for example, the threat cost video, people like that one, and the video on Sasuke. Those videos were like real. Matter of fact, let's just go to my channel as an example. Um, I can tell y'all which videos were easy to make and which ones were hard to make. Um, don't watch this video. This one is out of date. I need to make a new one. I need to make a new intro. This one sucks. This night how do I so these few videos here, I made most of these in one day and then published them all in one day. And then I made this intro the next morning. So it was like I like went to sleep at like 4 or 5 that morning, and then I woke up a couple hours later, and then I made this video. This video is trash. I don't even know why I put this up. I just don't like taking videos down. You know, I just don't like doing that. So this video, I actually hate this one. This one was kind of weird. For those of you who watched the Naruto video, this isn't the original Naruto. Well, it's the original Naruto video, but back when I was doing podcast, there was gonna be the first episode was gonna be about Naruto. It was the worst version of this. I had a co-host at the time, but we disagreed on a lot of stuff. And to make a long story short, I was right, and I have a bunch of views. So we're not gonna talk about that. He's a cool guy, though. I'm not insulting him. I just had to learn that not everybody is me, and I don't always need anybody's help. I just have to force myself to do stuff sometimes. Like, I don't necessarily need help. I just have to figure out how to make myself do stuff. Um, this video was hard because the first time, well, after I became a YouTuber, the first time I recorded it, I got 45 minutes in. Sometimes I do a thing where I'm like, this audio is shit. It's like I just didn't explain it right. I'll delete it. I had a video that I was supposed to do several months ago on Sakura. It was a kid analysis video on Sakura. And I had all the things listed out and everything, but I did the recordings like eight fucking times. And I was like, Mr. Krabs ain't feeling it. So I just kept deleting it and starting over and over and over. And I just gave up on it. There are a lot of videos that I have like kind of like bouncing around in my mind, ruminating. I have notes everywhere. I have so many notes everywhere. What is this? View deleted message? Ah, yes, the Titanfall 2 peaked before the era of Apex Legend. Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm trying to figure out why this thing, Looney Razor, it's automatically removing your comments. I'm trying to see why. How do I fix that? Oh, it's telling you not to send so many capital letters. I don't know why that's a... Yeah, that's my fault. I did that. Hold on a second. Link protection, uppercase protection. I turned it off. That should be fine now. My apologies, Razor. I think I fixed it. Silly me. What was I talking about? Shit, go back. Hold on. Isaiah, what are you doing? Wrong tab. Wrong tab. I have two screens, by the way. And eventually, I'm going to see if I can get 4 screens, but that might be too much even for me. Sword and Sandals was good. I played the 2022 one, and it was just as good as the old days. I used to be so shelled away in real life for so many years till I did the same thing as you, basically. Except in my mind, I was cooler than everyone else, whatever that means. I don't know. I understand. I didn't think of myself as very cool. I learned that I'm not as much of a nerd as people think I am. I'll get to talking with a lot of people, and they'll think I'm like this like super nerd guy because I'll show up in their circles sometimes, and I'll know what they're talking about to an extent. Razor, if you know, Razor, you probably know this about me. I would get in the groups, right, the friend groups, and we would think we're similar, and we get to talking, and then we realize that no, we're not. I'm not the same as them at all. And I'd have to keep figuring that out to the point where I accepted I'm not a nerd, which doesn't necessarily unto itself make me any cooler. It was just weird. Is it still bothering you about these capital letters? Man, my bad. I thought I switched it off. Yeah, I can't do collaborations because people can't hold an argument with me without leaving. Man, don't even get me started. I am that guy. The thing is, the thing that I'm doing, this sounds random, right? Because, like, the whole YouTube thing, the whole magic system thing, this sounds like random and niche, right? And in a way it is. William Razor says, I remember you got into constant debate with many people. You had hot takes that you were dodging hot knives. Yeah, man. I had to learn really early on. I'm one of those people that there's certain stuff I don't talk about now because I trust myself so much that if I sit down and do all the research and think, I will find the right answer. You can call me Kato because I got the right answer. If y'all ever watch that, but the problem is, this is the reason I haven't watched Hunter x Hunter yet. People say, well, Hunter x Hunter's magic system is good, it's bad, this and that. Most people, 75% of people out of 100 will say that shit is peak, right? And 25% of people will say that it's drastically overrated. If I read it, I make so many notes you would not believe. If I read it, not only will it take me months to a year before I'm actually completely digesting it, but when I have my conclusion, I will be right. Ain't no agree to disagree bullshit. I'm going to be right. And the question is whether or not people are okay with it or not. Whether or not people can accept it. Because I'm not that biased as a person. I value the craft and respecting the craft more than I do almost anything else in the world. You see what I'm saying? So when I come to that conclusion, it's fine. I'm the guy who spent 4 months on one trilogy. Like, keep that in mind for a second. I'm that guy. I am that person. All right? So when I come to a conclusion, I'm pretty confident about it. Not much people can do to change my mind. And sometimes that really pisses people off. Yeah, it's caused me some trouble, man. It's caused me some trouble. Some people I can't deal with because if I talk about the wrong thing with them, they will try to fight me. They will. I've had people do some crazy things. I've had people get off their fucking rocker because they tried to argue with me and it just didn't work. He said, "Did we live the same life or what?" So for those of you who are wondering why I don't talk that much, usually, that's why. Wow. Dang, Looney got sniped. Dang, Looney. You're getting bodied. Hold on. The Naruto video is what I found your channel on. I look for perspectives based primarily on the pros, and I never find it because it's easier to make ish up, Lamau. Oh, man. I only found like 2 channels for the Bleach side because I've been in it so long. Okay, I got you. Let's see. Let me think for a second. What was I about to say? But yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I am not an anituber. I'm not an anime tuber, for obvious reasons. Don't worry. I'm pretty sure some of those guys are fine. You know, like I've watched Swag Kage. I like him a lot. I haven't watched his videos in a while. I don't think I've watched many of his videos since that whole fiasco with Seth the Programmer, but yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that. That's somebody else's issue right there. We gonna leave that alone. I watch Six every now and again. As far as like power scalers go, I don't have a problem with power scaling in general. I don't think most people do it well. All things considered, I think six is relatively good at it. I do think that a lot of those people in that same vein, though, I'm not gonna bring up anybody specifically in that same vein of anti-tuber power scaler battle boarding. Even the ones that are relatively good, a lot of times the pitfall they fall into is how do I. So remember what I said earlier about me not being super biased and me respecting the craft more? I feel like a lot of people try too hard to rationalize some things and it gets in the way. Like there's a point where you can just sit back and admit that some shit doesn't make sense or like some things are framed in a really weird way. But for a lot of battle boarders, that's not acceptable. And they have to figure out a through line even when it's not exactly there. Any thoughts on the irregular Magic High system of tech based magic? And I'm going to answer that question in just a second. I'm going to go down here. People hate when I'm right, and that's objectively wrong. I put 100 hours into your favorite game, and it was and it was buns. Deal with it. I felt like that with Near Automata. I had like so many endings, and I looked at the game, and I was like, "What is this? Where is the game? Where's the rest of it? What do you mean you're gonna give me a whole story, and 60% of the story isn't in the game?" I had to go looking for lore in the game, and it wasn't even complete. I had to go read something else to get the story. What are you talking about, man? Oh. Power Scale's regular show magic system, you won't? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar I will not scale regular show. I wouldn't touch regular show with a 10-foot pole. Regular show, that takes me back. There was a point where I got burnt out with regular show. The first several seasons I liked. I don't know how many seasons there are. There got to a point where I looked up and I was like, what's going on anymore? Like, I don't even understand what's happening anymore. To be fair, though, I've never been a big cartoon Hold on, slow down, slow down. I am not one of those people who thinks all cartoons are for kids. I'm not one of those people. I'm just saying. To be fair, I'm not a cartoon person. I'm not an anime person either. Contrary to what you see on this channel, I'm not an anime person, a cartoon person. I'm not a game person, obviously. I'm not even a book person. So I know what you're thinking. Isaiah, what are you exactly? I'll let you know when I figure it out. But you wanted my thoughts on the magic system of irregular at Magic High? Let me see. So, do I still have that on my hard drive? Let me stop telling on myself. I have the light novel somewhere. I have the translated version of the light novels somewhere on one of my drives. I have too many hard drives. I have it somewhere. I haven't read through it all. I was reading the first few pages, and I concluded that either one of two things happened. Either the translated version I got is trash, or the writer's relatively incoherent. I don't know which one it is. So far, I'm leaning towards, for the sake of benefit of a doubt, I'm leaning towards the translation being incoherent. I don't want to blame it on the writer just yet. I did watch most of the first season of the anime. One of two things happened. This is me giving it the extreme benefit of the doubt. I try to be as fair as possible. The idea, don't get me wrong, I have no issue with like having like a scientific based, technological based magic system. At least the way some stuff is portrayed in the anime, some of that shit is A, unnecessarily convoluted, and B, some of it doesn't make sense. You got to be real careful with the complicated magic systems, and I would know because I'll whip up some real Goldberg machines in my day. I was talking with somebody on Discord yesterday. I was explaining one part of the story. I was explaining one part. And I was explaining, I almost had to get a spreadsheet to explain this character and that character and the backstories and how they interact and the conflict. I can make some real complicated stuff. But the problem is sometimes, especially when it comes to something like Kishimoto's work, if you look at it, the question is the thing actually complicated? Or is this supposed complexity a cover for something just not making sense? There's a word for that. It's called technobabble. Is it like some mumbo jumbo that doesn't make sense? Or You see what I'm saying? Or is it just something really complicated? The issue is I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the plot, the conflict, or anything like that. And some of the characters and the plot enraged me so much. I feel like the core philosophy that the writer was writing the story with in season one pissed me off so much that I didn't really care if the magic system was good or not. I never got around to figuring out. Because it could be a perfectly decent magic system, and maybe the anime explains it odd or whatever. I just never got a chance to delve deep into it and figure out because the writer makes me angry. I want to punch him in the face. Crap, I'm on YouTube. They gonna demonetize this. They gonna demonetize this or something. Ah, crap. Hold on a second. I gotta cover my own behind. There we go. If someone wants to donate, you can do it that way. My bad. I thought somebody was coming up to my door. All right, let me read some of these comments. Hold on, my bad. Um, I'm pretty similar, but also when I'm wrong, I also press the point just to make people mad. Lol. I knew I was wrong 10 minutes ago. Understandable. I get that. I can understand that. I can understand that. It's hard to watch anime YouTubers these days. 9 out of 10, they just agree with everyone's opinion, and that is weird to me. I promise that is. That is so weird. That's so suspicious to me. I'm like, you're allowed to be a person, right? As a general rule, if someone doesn't give themselves permission to have an identity and be a person, I don't trust their opinions on writing at all. I don't respect your writing. If you show me something, I don't trust that it's going to be interesting. I don't trust that it's going to have a soul. I don't trust your takes on other people's writing because what would you know? You see what I'm saying? It's like, what would you know? What taste do you have as a person with who walks around with no personality? Essentially, at least from if we're judging a lot of their YouTube videos. Then there are the people who are just crazy. That's a whole different ballpark. I don't know if I want to talk about them because there's different types of crazy out here, Clyde is like the only one I trust, but even then I disagree with the major functions of Bleach that he entirely disregards because it's incalculable, except it is. Oh my goodness. That actually reminds me, I was supposed to make a video a year ago. I have so many videos I was supposed to make. I didn't get around to it. But I had a video I was supposed to make on... I was going back to... I have 2 Gurren Lagann videos I'm supposed to make. The first is a would-be power scaling video. Not really power scaling. It's like... Because a lot of people in my comment section and on Reddit and in Discord... I know people like Gurren Lagann. I'm not telling you not to like it, right? I respect the fact that you like it. But a lot of people are just like premium copers about it. I already graded that magic system, so you already know how I feel about it. So far, I've not actually graded a magic system that's passed. I've only graded 3 officially, but none of them have passed. Gurren Lagann was like a 4 or something like that. Was it a 4 or 5? I can't remember. No, it was 5.66, and a lot of people's arguments were really weird. People would argue, for some reason, they felt the need to bring up the idea that spiral power is omnipotent. For starters, that is debatable. In theory, from a certain point of view, it is. But the problem is they were using the omnipotence of spiral energy to argue that the characters that use it, more specifically Simone, are all powerful. The problem is that's stupid. Let us say, hypothetically, that I have access to an unlimited source of power. Better yet, let's say I have access to the Speed Force, because, this is an easier example. Obviously, any person's stake in or connection to the Speed Force can vary, right? That decides how much speed they get. Even if the Speed Force itself was infinite, you wouldn't arbitrarily decide that any person who has a connection to the Speed Force has access to that infinite power, because it's bottlenecked. They themselves are limited. You see what I'm saying? Now, maybe with enough energy you could do anything, but can you get a hold of that energy? And that's another thing. That's one of those things I wanted to talk about was how strong You can't find out exactly how strong Simon is, but how strong is he roughly? And does it compare with what people says he is? Either way you slice it, he is extremely powerful. No doubt about it. Way super mega ultra powerful. He's far from omnipotent. People exaggerate way too much. He's magnitudes worse than omnipotent. In fact, I argue that despite the fact that he's very powerful, he himself, with his mech, without, anything else, he's actually, I'd argue he's way weaker than people say he is. They just glaze him because of how cool. I respect that. But be reasonable. And the second video I wanted to make about Gurren Lagann, I didn't make it yet because I figured people would get really pissed off. It was fixing the ending of Gurren Lagann. I know I criticized in that first video how one of the core issues of Gurren Lagann never got solved in the actual anime. And I was going to be doing a similar thing that I did with a Castlevania video, where like adding a couple of small mechanics and like reworking a couple of scenes to change it so that there is a solution without like affecting the underlying framework of the story. And I would do that just to prove like that this story could have been a lot better with slight adjustments. But I figured people would get really mad about that. True, I don't watch any tuber like I used to. I feel like they all the same, or their take similar with other people. Yeah. There are probably some unique ones out there, but like I said, some people are weird. And there are some people, what's that guy's name? Super Eye Patch Wolf? Or was it not Mark? I can't remember. The guy who they tried to take down all his Dragon Ball videos a year or two back. I can't remember. It was not totally not Mark, yeah. I haven't watched any of his videos in a while, but he was pretty cool. I'm an everything person myself, huh? I died in the tutorial for Nier Automata. Dude. That reminds me, the day before yesterday, I sat down and thought to myself, Isaiah, all right, you have all these criticisms of Nier Automata. How would you go about fixing it? You're a very constructive person. You like to talk about the particulars of what went wrong and how you could fix it. But I noticed that you haven't done it with this specifically. I said, Isaiah, what would it take to get this to work for you in a way that you still get whatever value that most people seem to play it and enjoy, but also that you would add to that value? I don't like taking away value. I like adding value, right? And if you're good enough, there's ways you can do that. But the problem is, the story was so hazy to me because, well, the parts we got didn't make sense, and a lot of the story just isn't in the freaking game. I said, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, so I'm going to replay it all the way over and see for sure. Here I am, 20 minutes into the game in the beginning, the tutorial. And I remembered how, like, there's not a save point for, like, 45 minutes or an hour into the game. And I was like, Isaiah, do you really want... Is this how you want to sacrifice your day? Do you really want to do this? Play this game you don't like? Is that how you want to do this today? I was like, you know what? No, I'm good. I just closed out. I was like, Isaiah, you know if you close this out and you come back, you're going to have to start all the way over again. Do you really want to do that? My solution was, I guess I'm just going to have to delete the game. I give up. Game can burn. It's not my responsibility. That's Yoko Taro's. I'm not going to take Yoko Taro's responsibility for what he made. He should have put that story in that game. He wrong for that. I'm taking my hands off it. In case you wanted a Nier video, I'm sorry we're not getting it. I considered buying the Nier Replicant game because it was on sale for real cheap, and I almost hit the button. And I was like, Isaiah, you didn't like the last game. You know this man isn't going to treat you right. Why would you play it? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I got on Discord asking people if it was worth it. And unfortunately, the first person to respond is... I don't know if he would consider himself to be this, but from my perspective, he was a series defender, a little bit. He was a series defender. And so, I couldn't trust what he was saying, so I just said, forget it, man, I'm good. Hold on a minute. I lost my point of reference. Where am I? Crap. He don't fuck with the story too much, but I really enjoyed the power system. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. You're just a guy who like good content, not afraid to call out flaw writing. Yeah, man, you would be surprised. You would be surprised. Man, I want y'all to know that the degree to which I cook a lot of these works of fiction, I want you to know I can 100% take everything I dish out. I could probably take 10 times what I dish out. Y'all have not seen how I criticize my own work. You would not believe how hard I look at my own work. Like, that's trash. You're like, Isaiah, you wrote that when you were 12. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, but it sucks. We still gotta fix it. We still gotta fix it, right? You know? Yeah, man. I have stories I wrote when I was way younger that I'm just now getting to rewriting again for like the third time. Like, okay, we're gonna do it right this time. We're gonna fix the story, make it actually coherent, because like people would get their abilities out of nowhere, and they were different. Like, there were points where like, man, I didn't even mean to have a main character. I told y'all before earlier in one of my other videos, I can't remember which one, where I used to write anthologies, a post-apocalyptic anthology. There was not meant to be a main character, but one of them stuck out to me so much, he just became the main character. And that kind of threw off everything, because he had like way too many abilities, and I couldn't figure out what his abilities were supposed to be. And there was a one point where like his abilities would change around a lot. His power scaling was so inconsistent. Because at one point I want him to be really powerful, at another point it doesn't work for the story that I had. I'm like, Isaiah, you know you can just write other characters, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. That's the whole point of an anthology. So yeah, so a lot of writers that I cook, like, the reason I'm able to cook them so well is because I've made similar mistakes. 100%. The difference is I don't shove my mistakes down people's throat, because that's insulting. Let's see. I saw the anime and I'm leading writer is incoherent. Yeah, they tend to be that way, man. They tend to. I hate to say that, especially with the more complicated magic systems. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be very careful. I had to explain this earlier today to someone. There is nothing wrong with having like a technical magic system. I make complicated ones myself. There's nothing wrong with having one that it's referential to science, or like it's super scientific, right? You have to be careful. I had a video about that. I actually made the video. It's complete. But I never posted it because I think it's trash. What was that video called? You remember this false soft magic system video? Don't watch this one. This is trash. This video is 11 minutes. It should be 4 minutes. I spent too much time floundering. It had another video that was supposed to pair with it, but the editing on it is a lot better. I have a lot actual more modern editing on it. And it was explaining the opposite problem, where how a lot of writers try to pretend to have like a hard magic system. They'll try to make it seem super rigid and complex and technical, when one of two things is true. Either, like I said, it's all a cover-up for something that doesn't make sense, or they're trying to convince themselves that the system is better. A lot of people do that, like people who are like super mega scientific with their magic systems. Not everybody. Sometimes it's just flavor, right? Like with Full Metal Alchemist, they talk about how alchemy is science. That's just flavor. I'm not criticizing the writer for that. But the thing that people do is they use it as leverage for their ego, to make themselves feel like their magic system is better than it really is, to convince themselves that it makes sense. It's an ego play. You ever read the comments on a certain anime or something like that, or a light novel, or even a book series? Wow, what was that book series called? Crap. Did I ever put that in the video? I mentioned it in one of my videos, but I don't remember if I posted that specific video. It was, what was that thing called? Schooled in Magic. Schooled in Magic. I read the first book. I read this book. I ripped this book to a PDF. Because in the PDFs you can highlight it and make the notes and everything. I color coded my notes to have different colors of comments and criticisms. This first book, the PDF for it when I first started was 1.4 megabytes. I added so much criticism, so much red ink to it, that it almost doubled in file size. I hate this book. This shit made... let me sit down I'm sitting down already. This book made me mad. This book... I'm sorry to the person who recommended me this book. This is not an indictment on you personally. Wow, this book made me so mad. Because the writer is a snarky... He's so snarky. The character... It's an isekai. Now, I write isekai too, so I'm not going to rag on it just because it's an isekai. But the writer is always roasting other works of fiction because he thinks he's doing it better. This is a ripoff of Harry Potter with an isekai, with a couple more things added into it, where the writer just thinks he's so smart and he makes so much sense, right? But he's not even coherent from page to page. The rules on polymorphing, every time he brings it up maybe 90 to 100 pages into the story. I can't remember. It's like a 450-page book, right? And every single time he brings up the rules of polymorphing from that point forward, even so much as 2 pages later, every single time they're completely inconsistent. And if you don't believe me, I dare you to buy this garbage book. Go ahead and waste your money. If you want to fact check me on that, go ahead. I dare you. That book made me so mad. I finished that book, I felt so empty inside. I was like, Isaiah, why did you do that to yourself? I had a feeling that there was something wrong with this book by the way that the viewers described it. Because, when writers do goofy, stupid stuff like this, sometimes... It's getting kind of late, I gotta quiet down. Sometimes what happens is, viewers that have similar psychological or emotional issues latch onto it and they double down on it. So oftentimes you can tell what the series is like. As crazy as it sounds, you can tell what the series is like by what the viewers are saying. Like if you go to these reviews, oh well, never mind. Yeah, they say really weird things, and they lay it on extra thick about how much sense the magic system makes and how it's logical and how it makes so much more sense than everything else. Those are classic, red flags. We're like, okay, somebody's ego was involved in this. What time is it? But yeah, back to the comment section. Oh, I see. I just got that notification. Thank you for your kind donation. It's greatly appreciated. Nah, you're fine. Just don't be gross according to the rules, of course. I missed the days where things didn't have concrete answers due to power scaling, to be honest. Yeah, that's one thing that really bothers me a lot when it comes to writing. It's that everything doesn't have to have an answer to make sense. You know what I'm saying? Everything doesn't have to have an answer to make sense, right? Methodically explaining every little thing isn't necessary. You have to have a good sense for what warrants an explanation and what doesn't. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that everybody's good at for some reason. But a lot of times it's like an ego, not necessarily like that person's ego is big. They might have ego issues. Maybe they have imposter syndrome or something. They're worried about whether or not their writing makes sense, and they have to rationalize it to themselves. I've done that before too. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't do that anymore. I got done with that when I was a teenager. I stopped doing that. That's not an insult to adults who still do it. It's just that I've been writing since I was 10. So. It is so refreshing in this chat, OML. Wow, man, you spitting. I'm not gonna lie, you spitting. You spitting. Yeah, I feel. I agree with that. It's good to not have my head bitten off. Great SAO's mini power system. Okay, all right. You want me to do SAO? It's worth considering. Let it be known this day, I am not one of those people who just like. There are a lot of people who love to cook SAO, right? They love to hate it and they pretend it's the most popular thing ever and that no one cooks it except for them. Like it's some niche hatred. It's really weird. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of things worthy of criticizing in that show, in that series, especially the earlier iterations of it, because there was like a web novel that was really weird. From what I hear, there was like blatant prawn. I'm not trying to get beamed today. I'm already laying it on kind of thick as it is. Um, they had that blatant nastiness in there, and then the light novel came out, which was a little bit better. But then there were a couple of chapters that I'm not sure if they're not canon or if they don't count because of blatant nastiness. But even in the anime, there's a lot of just raw nastiness. If you've ever played the SAO games, I played Hollow. Some of the games suck. Razor, if you're still in here, I know you've played. He used to play. What was it called? Fatal Bullet. I played it for like 15 hours. I couldn't finish it because it was too grindy. But I played Hollow Fragment. There were things about that game that were good. The combat was trash. Okay, you're probably wondering why I'm bringing this up. The thing about it is, one of my biggest issues with the anime SAO, again, a lot of things to criticize, is that my favorite character was Sinon. And mind you, I was watching it when I was a teenager, and I realized something really interesting when I was a teenager. It didn't take me that long to figure it out. That the way it treated a lot of the characters in SAO, I'm gonna get to the magic system in a second. The way it treated the characters in SAO, whatever plot that the side character had, they would solve that plot and they'd just be background characters forever. Like they would immediately lose like 85% of their personality. That made me so mad. Sinon was cool. She was savage, but her plot did her a little bit dirty. And then after that, she just lost most of her personality, and it really sucked. And yeah, that kind of inspired the part of the "Don't ditch your main characters" video. But yeah, there are so many problems with SAO. But one thing I noticed was that even though the games have that same issue, the writing for the characters, while it's coherent and consistent with the ones in the anime, the characters, there's just more of the characters. The writer knew how to write those characters better to give them more spotlight and more personality, right? He just didn't in the original story for some reason. Like, for example, I didn't like Lizbeth in the original story. I thought she was like a weird pick-me. She was super easy. I didn't really like it. I saw the potential, but Mr. Krabs wasn't feeling it. Again, the game is bad. Don't play the game, right? And he's equally nasty in the games too, by the way. I had to skip through a lot of stuff, especially Asuna stuff. I don't really like her. But imagine my surprise when I find out that what's the girl's name? Lizbeth actually not only has personality in the game, but she's actually pretty funny. I'm like, where was all of this in the anime? So the writer can write the characters, but because of whatever, I'm not sure if it's power fantasy or if it's something else that he has in mind, for some reason he just doesn't do it, and it really bothers me. As for the magic system, if we're talking about the early ones, the baseline system, I like it. For those of you who don't know, I'm talking about the one they had in Aincrad with the sword skill system. They call it sword skills, but it's not just sword skills. There are different skills you have in the game. Well, there are skills and there are skills. There's skill, the category, which the more you use the actual skills and techniques you have inside of that category, the more it levels up to 1,000. You only have so many slots for your different skills. And some of them you have to either go through side quests to discover or like do some random thing that the game doesn't tell you. Some of them are very unique and very secret, but the idea of the way sword skills work, I thought it was pretty interesting. It's actually an inspiration for another system a part of a system that I use in the world that I mainly write in now, that I write stories in. And the way System Assist works is, because it's a game, How does the game know what technique you're trying to use? You can't press a button, right? So every technique has a certain posture. As you take a certain stance or position, the game knows that you're trying to do that skill, and so it'll automatically jump in and do it for you. The problem with that is, well, there's a couple of things. There's a bit of a delay, so the system knows that you're actually trying to do that thing. Then, while some of the skills have different variations, like angles or whatever, for the most part, if you know what skill a person is using, it's very dangerous because you can counter it very easily. Because they're locked into that action, that animation. And if you know how to get around it, you actually see the characters doing this sometimes in the story. Some of them, like for example, Reaver, that big-ass long lunge you do with the scimitar, it's useful because you can gain a lot of distance, but the drawback is that, again, you have that exact animation, and if you know the animation, you know their hitboxes, you can dodge the attack and you can counterattack. And then there's something I don't think they portrayed very well, which was post-motion lock, which is after you complete that sword skill, there's a bit of a delay before you can act again. It's also worth noting that in SAO, the original Aincrad, sword skills were extremely powerful, and you could swing your sword and attack normally, but those attacks were way, way weaker to the point where it wasn't viable. I like what he did with that. It makes sense with the whole sword skill thing. At the same time, it takes a little bit of the dynamic out of it. I don't know. It's worth thinking about. I guess I like lost my train of thought. Never mind. Now, if we're talking about the actual magic system of SAO, I'm going to read these comments in a second. If we're talking about the actual magic system with that we see later, the same one we see in Excel. Oh yeah, fun fact for those who don't know. They're not exactly the same timeline, but Excel World and SAO take place in like the same universe or the same framework. And so basically what you see in SAO is the actual magic system, and all the technology too, is developing in SAO towards the point that it's in an Excel World. And so, but I don't like how it is in SAO because it's basically just willpower. I talked about that in the Gurren Lagann video. Magic systems that are purely based off of willpower, they suck because the limitation criteria is just shot to the curve. I feel like a lot of the powers they used in the later seasons that were based off of that willpower were very cool, but they didn't make any sense. It was just like it turned into Dragon Ball Z a little bit. I didn't really know what was going on anymore. All right, time for the comments. So the skill assist system, the system assist, I like that. That was pretty cool. Not perfect though. As for the actual magic system, as far as it goes in SAO, it's trash. Especially Kirito surviving the first time he got killed, surviving with willpower. Yeah, I'm not with that. I'm not with that at all. All right, back to the comments. Yeah. Totally Not Mark was pretty chill. Blah. Not my responsibility. I feel that. Just play the best game, Final Fantasy VII. Do you know how many times I've replayed Final Fantasy VII Remake? It's been like 3 or 4 times. I like that game a lot. I haven't played the original Final Fantasy yet. I meant to. I just keep forgetting. It's on my list. Don't worry. And the list is long, but never mind that. I will get to it one day. I can't defend things. I hate on my favorite things harder than haters. I can't help but hate even if I love something. Understandable. Nothing wrong with a good critique. Yes, it has to be perfect. But the goalpost goes higher with more experience. That's true. Me looking at my Mega Man script and seeing my bad writing at full display. I'm a victim of my own. You know, there's a reason I don't do scripts. Mr. Krabs don't be feeling it. I had one video that I was going to do with a script. If you guys know For those of you who've been around for a while, you know I don't very heavily subscribe to the concept of hard and soft magic systems. They do exist, but they're descriptive categories and not creative ones. Knowing those terms won't help you get better at building magic systems, but for some people, for some reason, a lot of people obsess over them. And so I actually discovered he's a YouTuber too. I'm not gonna try to be mean to him. I'm gonna make this quick too because I don't want to lay it on extra thick on another content creator. But he has this whole system. He took the hard soft scale and made it twice as complicated. He has hard and soft, right? But then he has rational and nebulous. And I had this whole video analyzing whether or not that thought process or that framework was valid and productive. And I had this long ass script because I was trying to be as fair as possible and as thorough as possible. I realized it wasn't worth it. I'm like, Isaiah, if you don't subscribe to the hard and soft system, why are you going to give the benefit of a doubt to a system that does it but more complicated? Like, what was the point of that? So I just scrapped that video. Also, I'm not good with scripts. Yeah. Also, in case you were wondering, the rational nebulous framework that he has is literally just a different type of hard and soft. So he has hard and soft on one axis, and then another type of hard and soft on another. I'm like, I don't know if I really agree with the point of that, but, you know, it's been a while since I've looked at it. Maybe I'm, like, not explaining it properly or something. Quick point of praise. You might maintain an audience even if small right now very well. W Test Stream. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I stalled doing this stream because I was like, see, I don't know if you're going to be good at it. I don't know what the point of that would be. It was worth a try, though. I thought I'd figure it out. J.K. Rowling writing in a nutshell with Harry Potter. Man, don't get me started. Okay, to be fair, I never read the books. I only watched the movies, and as a result, I don't try to criticize Harry Potter that hard without looking at the primary source. But if I'm being honest, some of the logic doesn't add up. I'm just gonna I'm gonna put that right there. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I considered reading through the whole series so I could actually have an opinion, but like many things, I picked it up, looked at it, and realized I actually don't care. Ego writing is fine until it becomes the only writing. That's understandable. Like, if you have an ego and you earned it, that's one thing, right? But a lot of people, their ego does not match their actual capabilities. It's one thing to have an ego because you can put something together really well. It's another thing to have an ego and use your ego as a justification for why whatever you do is right. People like that shouldn't be allowed to have egos. Not wasting a dime on an empty story. Smart man. The high seas are right there. You could always swim. Of course, I'm not endorsing that. I'm just saying that is a possibility. You can always tell a bad story based on the fans. Yeah, you can always tell a bad story based off the fans. All right. Should I say that? Isaiah, are you going to say that? Are you going to say that? No, don't say that, Isaiah. Don't say that. No. Shut up, Isaiah. All right, keep going. Back to the comment section. I have a wild theory for the backstory of a character that I think makes a lot of sense, but I always preface that it's wild because he will never have concrete backstory. Yeah. Making theories is a pretty fun thing. I think making theories is actually a pretty good exercise because assuming you do it well, now most fans suck at making fan theories. They don't make any sense. They don't correlate to the actual story. But if you know me and my core criteria for judging magic systems, you know that one of my key categories is governance. How well do the rules actually govern what happens? But you can also apply that to fan theories as well. How well do the rules of the story and the universe actually govern your thought process and your opinions regarding it? Your opinions and your fan theory have to be in line with the actual rules of the series, otherwise, it just doesn't work. Even in movies, director will be so in your face with information, they never allow people to learn from visual storytelling, which is a lost media at this point. Man, don't even get me started. If you have all this potential, like the visual medium has a lot of opportunities to instill norms and ideas into people regarding whatever work of fiction you're making, right? You gotta learn how to use it. That's like me writing a book and not knowing how to use words well. You know what I'm saying? Like like you gotta know not only how to explain things to people, but I'm not gonna just say show don't tell, but you got to learn how to use your actual visuals to explain the magic system and the characters as well as possible. They used to have movies back in the day that didn't even have words in them, and you could still tell what was going on because of how well the visuals were made. That might be a pretty interesting exercise now that I think about it. I might have to give that a try one day. I'm not a cinema I'm not a film guy right now. Overlord deserves it so much more in my opinion. I give SAO much kudos after that garbage fire. I do not like Overlord that much. Me and Looney Razor and some of the other people in college have talked about it a great deal. They like it more than me. This was back when I was trying to be more cordial. Like, that's the reason I watched Rising of the Shield Hero. I wasn't going to watch it on my own. Yes? Pardon? Oh, my bad. Somebody knocked on the bathroom door. I thought they were knocking on mine. My bad. What was I about to say? The reason I watched those series was because I knew my friends liked them, and I wanted to just like keep up with whatever they were doing. Because I guess I was trying to like, well, what do friends actually do, right? Let me do that. That's what friends do. Let me do that. But I didn't really like Overlord that much. It has its virtues. It has its qualities. I recently tried to rewatch it to take notes on it, as I often do. I take so many notes. You have no idea. I couldn't finish season 1. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's not my cup of tea. And many people, when you say that about Overlord, the first thing they'll do is go, ah, but Isaiah, you're doing it wrong. You're watching the anime when you should be reading the light novel. It explains everything and it makes more sense. I'm like, no. I don't like Overlord. Why would you give me more Overlord as the solution? Now, don't get me wrong. I watched 3 seasons of it. No one made me do it, right? It was okay, I guess. It's just not my thing. Mr. Krabs wasn't feeling it. I just don't, you get what I'm saying. Fatal Bullet was my favorite of the SAO games. Yeah. I actually figured out it existed because of you. You told me it existed. I did not know there were SAO games before that. That reminds me. Isaiah, are you really going to say that? Nah, man, shut up. You're not going to say that. I always hated that Excel World is connected. I like Excel World. Yeah, I think there's only 1 season, and then there's like I hate recap anime movies so bad. They will be movies you're thinking, oh yeah, another installment of this anime that I like just came out. Let me watch it. You go through the trouble of watching it, and it's just a freaking recap. Are you kidding me? Like, dude, seriously. Like, the Gurren Lagann movies were like that. Most of it was just a high-speed recap until the last fight, which was completely reworked. And that reworked fight was actually really good in Gurren Lagann, in the movies. But the rest of it was just a recap with slight differences. Like, people try to defend it by saying it's super different. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so instead of the moon crashing into the Earth, it's going to turn into a giant transformer robot that's going to punch the Earth instead. The story is exactly the same. Who cares? I mean, that was cool. It was. But the story itself is the same. I do not like recap movies. Save that for YouTubers. Like, seriously, save that for YouTubers. If you know me, if you know my channel and stuff that I do, I have to often explain what I'm talking about before I get into the nitty gritty. Save that for people like us, or better yet, one of those actual recap channels. I don't know how those people make it on YouTube. Actually, I do know. Because there are a lot of things that people think are cool that they don't want to take forth. They don't want to take the time to actually read it. A lot of people that I know who like comic books don't actually read comic books. I read a few. I was reading the DC Rebirth Supergirl a while back. I quit it 10 issues in because I got bored. I'm reading the new, not the... There are so many Ultimate Spider-Mans, it's ridiculous. The new Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm reading that one. I like it. I like him. He's cool. He's pretty neat. He's pretty neat. Crap, what was I saying? What was I actually about to say? Alright, back to the comment section, Isaiah. Professional hate knows no bounds. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Excel World. Yeah, I actually like Excel World a lot. At least the anime. I haven't read the light novels. I like the fact that the writer made that same willpower system. He actually made more rules for it in Excel World. It's been a while since I haven't looked at it since high school, so forgive me if I don't recall the details, but there are different categories of powers. And then he even had rules about how, like, because in Excel World, the neat thing about it is the base magic system, not the willpower one. Your avatar and your avatar's abilities are not based off of you. They're based off of either your flaws or your issues or not inaccuracies. Inconspiracies? That's not a word. Hold on. Insecurities. Yes, that's right. Insecurities, your traumas and stuff like that. And that could make some really unique characters. I really like that a whole lot. But extending that willpower-based magic system in Excel World, they had a couple of rules. One, don't use it unless someone else is trying to use it on you. You have to use it mutually. And the reason for that was because, if I'm not mistaken, since the magic system is based off of like the cracks or the tears in a person's soul, the flaws in a person's soul, that by using those powers, you could, like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you could like expand on those and it could become an issue. I kind of like that. Now, I only watched that one season, didn't read the rest of it. There is a risk of that becoming a threat cost. There is. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this video. This is some of my best work. You should watch that. But the writer may have made it work. He may not have. I actually don't know. I can't say up to this point. So it's anybody's guess, you know. I'm writing a willpower-based magic system, based power system. If you have a Discord, I'd love to have yet another writing friend to bounce ideas off of. That'd be good. I'm considering making a Discord for Magic System Monday. I'm concerned because so far my conversations on Discord have been hit or miss. Some people that I deal with are perfectly swell. Some relationships start swell and they fall apart when I'm not willing to accept something that they like. Like I'm willing to, well, they'll ask me my opinion on something and I'll make a criticism, or I'll say this thing isn't as good as some people say it is, and they'll get super mad. And some people just can't handle that. And so it's very hit or miss. And that's why, if you remember, in this video, the other threat cost video, how to make sure risky magic is risky. By the way, people were biting my head off. People were biting my head off on this one so bad, some of the comments got removed. Man, because I mentioned that Luffy had plot armor. Oh, that's another cute thing. There are people, and I hate to say that, if you're in here now, no hard feelings, I gotta talk my talk. It's fine if you don't think the video's perfect, but there were people in here that I've known that have been on my channel for literal years since the beginning, right? There were some people, since I had 25 subscribers before the Naruto video, you see what I'm saying? They were here, right? And they were on board for everything I said. until I said Luffy had plot armor, and then they spazzed on me. And then they say they was like, "Oh, absolutely not. You can't say that. That's wrong. That's unreasonable. What you're saying doesn't make any sense." And don't get me wrong, it's not like I can't be wrong. But I mean, Luffy has plot armor. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so I remember I lost a not a hefty number of subscribers, but for a person with 3.6K, if you lose 15 subscribers, you will notice. If you lose them in the span of a week, you will notice, especially since you're constantly gaining more subscribers. If enough people leave that you notice the number goes down while you're still getting more, yeah, you notice that immediately. But, you know, I mean, some of those people are still subscribed. I'm not trying to insult them or anything, but this is a channel where I'm very honest about the fact that I disagree with people, so I have to go on record saying that. And which reminds me, I meant to make a video. One of the many videos I've yet to make, I have a lot of notes for, is a video on what plot armor even is in the first place. A coworker at the time where I was working urged me not to make that video. He urged me to wait for quite a while because he thought it would be too on the nose and he was worried those people would be offended. So that's why I didn't make it. But crap, what was I even talking about that? Oh yeah, to make a long story short, I'm very careful about who I deal with. Closer than just YouTube comment section, because some of those people do pop off on me on Discord or on Reddit or whatever. And yeah, I don't like having to block people. I very rarely do. But my rule is you can get on my nerves on one social media. If you hop to another, I'm blocking you on that one. I've only ever had to block one person. Just not responding to other people has worked. But that guy, I had to block him. Yeah, people on the internet can be kind of hit or miss. So I will consider this. If you ever want to talk, I do look at the comments regularly. I might make the Discord, in which case I'll let you know. We'll have to see. Tatsuki, I suggest you read a book called The Primal Hunter. It embodies that very concept the best I've ever seen in all my years of writing. Well, yeah. If you don't want to pay, I got you. Trust. He got that hot link. Yeah, what was I about to say? So, on the whole willpower magic system thing, anything can work, right? You just have to be willing to follow the basic rules of writing to make it work. For example, I do have magic systems that are in part based off of will and the power of friendship. Those two things, usually when writers use them, they're using them as get out of jail free cards. They use them as carte blanche to do whatever they want. But you can take them and make them make sense, if you're willing to write them properly. Quite frankly, if you just write limits into the magic system like a normal human being, you'll probably be fine. But for some reason, I guess a lot of people just don't think that way. I don't know. I predicted an entire paradigm shift in the Zenpakuto understanding because kubology, yeah, okay, shut up, Isaiah. No, don't shut up, hold on. You can say that right. Kubology is my major, Lamau. I had people bugging saying I was talking out of my ass. There was a great Bobobo pilot about that concept. There's only one line of dialogue at the end. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I have to get back to watching reading. I don't watch Bleach. I had to get back to reading Bleach. Someone did request that alongside Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. You guys are probably wondering where that Jujutsu Kaisen video is, aren't you? You're not getting it anytime soon. I'm sorry. You're not getting a full-fledged review of Jujutsu Kaisen anytime soon. I need you to understand that is one of the worst written series that I've read in freaking years. In years. Every few pages, I'm looking at my notes and scratching my head on what the writer thought he was doing. The way he gives exposition is bad. The way he names things is bad. The writing is bad. The character writing, cool ideas. The characters themselves, the writing itself is just not there. It's just bad. It's just terrible. Man, it's so painful. I was taking it so seriously making my notes. I got Scrivener open now. For those of you who write, if you don't have Scrivener, I suggest you buy it. It's Scrivener. GG is the GOAT. Looney Razor, you know, listen, we ain't argued in a long time. We might have to take that counter back to 0. GG is Gay is not the GOAT. There's a reason they demoted that man from Gay to Greg. It was not spell check. It was not autocorrect. No, they just demoted that man. His name is Greg now. I want you to know that while I was taking that series as seriously as possible, making my notes for it, it actually genuinely, noticeably reduced my quality of life. My life at the time was tangibly worse because trying to take Jujutsu Kaisen seriously and writing it down and trying to grade it was so difficult. It was so painful. I wanted to crash out. But I said I'd do it. So I tried my best to do it. I'll have to make smaller videos that prepare people for me saying that that the magic system is ultimately trash. There are a lot of arguments I can employ to prove that. I just don't feel like doing it right now. There were times I would just open my notes. I would flip to whatever chapter I was on. Instant headache. Oh yeah, back to the comment section. Overlord is good with character writing, and the book does justice. The magic system is not that great, and I can say that as an Overlord fan. Well, here's the neat part. Everything's based off of magic. If the magic system is bad, the characters can be as good as you want them to be, but if the magic system is featured prominently and the magic system is bad, it's going to affect the character writing negatively. It's going to produce negative utility. There should be a lot of hooks that you can use in the magic system to add to the character writing, but if the magic system sucks, you just can't do that. Same with all the other parts of world building. As an avid Kasern fan, most people give the 90s version praise, but I think it's only good for like 5 minutes, and that's only if you're chaining into Concern Sins, a reboot. It's just a retelling with less meat. Ah, man, that's unfortunate. I need to get back into comics. I feel like I can't give my honest takes about it, or someone does an entire recap I watch over, which isn't the best to do. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Alright, you gotta start streaming. Rune Factory is Rune Factory is finally purchasable. Catch a next stream. I wonder when I should stream next. I haven't decided yet. This was just a test stream. I didn't expect this to last past 5 minutes. But yeah, well, it was good that you were here, Bevan. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everyone's support. Let me read some more of these comments. Well, I don't have to clock in anymore, so I could probably do the... It'll probably speed up my ability to make videos and do streams and stuff like that. So if you guys want, I can do this more often. The question is how often and when. There are a couple of people I really wanted to catch up with that I would like to be able to see my streams. A couple of them don't live in America. I'm in the Central Time Zone. A couple of them live overseas, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning for them. So, I don't know. At this point, he's probably almost having to get up for work at this point. I don't know. So, we'll have to figure out exactly what time I do these types of things. There's always plot armor. It's a package deal. What was that? Did y'all hear that? It's a package deal with a character driven narrative. Yes. Now here's the problem. Technically, plot armor is something you can't really get rid of. But the question is, how much plot armor? You can write things in such a way that a character has small enough plot armor that it's statistically insignificant. The problem is, a lot of writers lay it on very thick, and that kind of becomes a problem. Luffy had plot armor. He is the MC, of course he does. As a One Piece fan, he should have died multiple times. Example, literally his fight with Crocodile. Yeah, you're right. He should have. Crocodile is one of the perfect examples of this man should have just died. Man. Okay, let me not talk about One Piece too much because I'll summon somebody and they'll bite my head off. Um, One Piece is one of those things that if there was any more than 7 people in this chat right now watching this stream, I would have been verbally set ablaze. I would have been set ablaze by this point. They would have set me on fire. But so I don't want to talk about One Piece too much more. I was so upset with the way people responded to some of the criticisms that I just decided I didn't want to talk about One Piece at all anymore. I'm not gonna read it to review it. I'm not gonna do a Magic System review or nothing, because even if I had something to say that was valid, just like I said in the Q&A video, people are gonna bite my head off. The fan base for One Piece is so large that they'd rather hide behind each other than be critical of the work. When it comes to One Piece fans, whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter what you say. All 10 trillion of them will shake their head no in unison, and you instantly lose, and that's that. You just gotta pack it up and move on. Totally fair. I can get up in my feels about Bleach, but even then it's usually a fundamental misconception. So I'm more than willing to discuss it, and if it goes nowhere, just not touch it. Understandable. Now I will note I haven't read too much of Bleach. I actually mentioned that in the Q&A video. That's one of the things that was on my list. I kind of got distracted by the beginning. The first maybe year or two of writing isn't necessarily, I wouldn't call it full on trash or nothing like that. It's not bad okay, I'm saying it's not bad. I'm saying it's okay. It was okay. I don't have any problem with the fact that it's slice of lifey. The ball hasn't really gotten rolling yet. That's perfectly fine. I have no issue with that type of thing at all. But the issue to me was that I could tell that the magic system wasn't completely developed yet, and the character writing feels very one or two dimensional right now. There is character development but for the most part, it feels very light. I don't feel like I have a lot to sink my teeth into at the time. I do realize it'll get better, but I don't know. I just kind of fell off of it. It's probably gonna get better by chapter 100 at least. I just don't know exactly when it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better for sure. I just don't know when, and then I can actually decide whether or not I like Bleach or not. So right now, I don't have a very strong opinion on it. I only disagree in that I don't think it's written with conventional standards. A lot of influence comes from postmodernism, which changes conventional writing. Okay, I see what you're saying. Now, I will note that it's okay for people to advance and evolve in their way of thinking about writing, right? But writing has been around for a trillion years. I think in the time that writing has existed, that doesn't mean that all early writing should be touted as this wonderful, the best thing ever. For example, a lot of old school writers, they drag on way too long, too wordy, too much explaining. If you ever read Wheel of Time, I tried reading Wheel of Time. I couldn't finish the first book because it was so long. The fight scenes would go quickly. The writer knows how to write quickly. He can. He can write something smooth if it's a fight scene. Otherwise, he doesn't want to. So I don't mean to say that all old ideas or ways of writing are just inherently more valid. But in reality, I don't think the rules of writing have changed all that much. It's just a matter of figuring out what the true rules are. And that's the only way to be as fair as possible in your analysis. You can always talk about the different core philosophies that a person uses to write. But just because they have different mentalities doesn't mean that every mentality is the best. Some mentalities for interpreting or even writing can still be better or worse than others. That's one of the issues that I have with the concept of pulp. Now, obviously, if you've watched pulp stories aren't necessarily bad at all. You've probably seen plenty that are actually really good. The problem comes in the fact that, how do I explain this? The problem comes into, I don't have a problem with pulp specifically. I have a problem with the way people leverage the title pulp. I'll get back to I see what you're saying about, you're talking about JJK. Okay, I see what you meant. Bleach is traditionally written as well. Okay, yeah. What was I about to say? Like, for example, with pulp, by labeling something pulp, a lot of viewers argue that you're not allowed to have specific types of standards for it anymore. Like, all of a sudden, like, because I've labeled it a different genre, yeah, different genres can work differently. But from my perspective, the way I've set myself up to analyze things, I have a core criteria, rules of logic that is consistent regardless of the type of media, regardless of the type of genre. I recognize that people can have different philosophies and they can be more or less unique, right? But that's just not an excuse for certain. Like, for example, some types of stories are more plot-driven, narrative-driven, character-driven. You know, that's all right, right? And sometimes those are better or worse at different things. I still reserve to write because I'm pretty fair with my criticism. I'm pretty fair with my core criteria that I use on this channel. I reserve the right to judge everything the same way. The same way I judge Star Wars, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Wheel of Time. You see what I'm saying? My own work is the same way that I'll review something, for example, Little Witch Academia. Seems completely different, right? Little Witch Academia seems like something you wouldn't take that seriously at all. And you wouldn't. But my core criteria is consistent and fair enough that it works across genres anyway. So I reserve my right to criticize it the same way I criticize everything else. I'm not going to give him special treatment because he thinks differently. I respect that. I think differently too. But you have to format yourself as a writer. You are writing something that has to be digested. You're writing something that has to be digested. And so I do hold people responsible for writing something in a functional, digestible way. And there are a lot of cases in which I don't feel like he's done that. I don't feel like Gege has done that. And it's also worth considering that, what was I about to say? There are so many stones that that should have been turned, that he didn't turn, that would have added to the story. And that's, whether he's modern, postmodern, or whatever, that's just a classic case of wasted opportunities. And I have to criticize him for that. You know what's crazy? Well, I know my problem with JJK. There was a lot of missed opportunity, especially character development. You know what's crazy? You get more flavor sustain from the darn JJK mobile. Oh, man. You gotta be kidding. It's not that bad, is it? To see character interact with each other. Imagine seeing something in a game that doesn't show up in the main story. You feel so cheated. As a viewer of that original thing, you feel so cheated. The first 53 chapters, let's see. First 53 chapters are rough. I've read through it 3 times, and I have to skip it. Yeah, I feel that. You're talking about Bleach, right? Yeah, that's absolutely believable with what I've seen. You said 53 chapters exactly. So if that's the case, I'm not too far out now. Maybe I can get to the interesting part soon. Araki has a great breakdown of the three aspects of writing and how they can balance out by being lopsided enough to compensate. Okay. Araki, that's the guy who made JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I haven't watched it yet, my bad. That is another thing that people suggest to me a lot. I don't entirely disagree, but I will say that any story written postmodern will be awful by modern standards by necessity. It is like grading absurdism with traditionalism. Well, the difficult thing about this that I could do but I won't is in order to properly discuss this in the fairest way possible, I have to actually talk about postmodernism. I would have to critique postmodernism, and I have to talk about its values, virtues, its draw sides, and all that. And that's a very philosophical ass discussion that, one, it would be boring to a lot of people, including myself, and B, it is 12 o'clock at night. I don't feel like doing it right now. Because it could be that there's some values to be had there. Given my experience with most veins of postmodernism, I don't think so. However, just because there have been bad veins of postmodernism, or people have used it for leverage for really stupid things, that doesn't mean that all of postmodernism has to be bad, right? But in order to come to the conclusion about which parts are good and which schools under which sub schools of thought under it work, I would have to get into it, and I just don't feel like it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I need to get off here. I need to sleep. I was caught off guard by the random stream. I had to join in and cause a scene. Law. Yeah, I feel that. And now, having said that, it is 12 o'clock. Um, I guess I'm tired. I don't know. I don't think I'm that tired. I could go for a little while longer, but I don't want to disturb everybody else in the house. Um, I thank you all for being here on this test stream. I would say it's a success, and I'll probably be doing it again soon, but not as a test, as an actual stream. If you have suggestions for what time I should do that or what day, please feel free to let me know. Um, in the meantime, if you need me, you know where to find me. This is Isaiah from Magic System Monday, and I'll see you guys later.